I'll offer Resolution 14-030, the authorization to purchase a truck chassis.
Second.
Calling the roll. Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
How did that compare to the, refresh my memory?
Actually, this was a couple $100 cheaper.
I thought it was around the same figure. This was cheaper. Good job.
The next item, I have a brief presentation. I'll keep this very brief. We were able to squeeze in a log jam removal about 10 days ago behind you. Here we had 3 locations. This is just north of Sylvania Avenue, west of Mitchell Road. This creek, 10 Mile Creek, actually leads back to the back area of Holt Road. Next picture, please, Jim. And some close-ups of the log jams. Next picture. And yeah, you can just scroll down to that next one. We've rented an excavator from our good friends up at Buckanabees, and as you can see, there was only one way to accomplish this task, and just get right down in it, get her done. So this is a view from the bridge, and you can see this ice was still forming here. And we have do we have a last picture there, Jim?
That's the last picture.
Okay.
Want the video?
Please, we have just a 30-second video to show you, and this couldn't have had better timing because we started about 8:30, we finished about 1 o'clock, and the creek rose about 8 inches during that time frame. And back here is the bridge on Sylvania Avenue. And while we were at it, we removed some ice chunks out of the way just so we didn't cause an ice jam.
Is that something you can get reimbursed on?
Yes, sir. Yes. We'll be seeking reimbursement through the force accounts at the Stormwater Utility District. And right in here, you can see the water is pretty much, it's up over the tracks, and it's,
Look at it flowing.
yeah.
Wow.
So you can see the water flow. So we just want to make sure that when we remove the logs, that we didn't create an ice jam. So that was the whole point of.
Hey, Greg, do they ever have to worry about those tracks freezing up?
We don't have to. But that is a concern, yes. Yeah. Actually, Buckanabees had to perform, a new grease job on the tracks and that, but.
Awesome. Great work.
So, anyways, and Mr. Crandall, yes, that was a $1,662 effort on our township crews that day, and we'll seek reimbursement through the Stormwater Utility District.
Great.
Okay. And next item is, let's see. This is new roadways to go into our, new roadways accepting into the township road system. It's been a while since we've done this, but Resolution 14-031.
I'll offer Resolution 14-031.
Second.
Calling the roll. Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Here's Jason. Sorry.
There we go. Yep. And here we are talking about salt for next year. Recommending 14-033. This is for the ODOT Cooperative Use Program to take advantage of the salt pricing for the next season.
I'll move approval of Resolution 14-033.
Second.
Participation agreement for salt with the Ohio Department of Transportation.
Calling the roll. Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
Great work, Greg.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rick. Next up is the fire department with his monthly report and resolution. Blade's here late.
Good evening. You have before you the February monthly report. As you can see at the bottom of page 2, Jim, if you go all the way down the bottom. Year-to-date, our responses are 1,053, and our incidents are 810. We're up about 349 responses this year from what we were at the same time last year. Page 3, you'll see the responses that we've had for the EMS responses. With the weather being so bad, most of our responses, next page, Jim. Most of our responses have been in the cardiac-related emergencies and respiratory distress areas. Page 4. Page 4 is a list of our mutual aid incidents. You might as well just go to page 5, Jim, because that's all the way down, please. Thank you. The total for the month of February is we've asked Springfield Township Fire Department to, we had 9 requests from them for ambulance transports because there were no ambulances available in the county for us to transport people to the hospital. Toledo was asked for 3 transports, vehicles, to help us out, again, because there were no ambulances available, and we had 1 patient that went by car. Also on the bottom, on February 1st, this is the latter part of the funeral for the 2 fallen firefighters in Toledo. That was that Saturday. For the second gentleman, we went ahead and sent 2 engines and a truck to Toledo to fill in their engine company so they can pay tribute to that firefighter. All those 12 guys that went were all volunteers from our department. They volunteered their time instead of being paid to go to Toledo to fight fire in Toledo while they were at the funeral. Page 5, community risk reduction. Deputy Chief Fralick attended 6, he went ahead and attended 6 kindergarten information nights. They were rescheduled several times, I believe, because of the bad weather, but he was there giving out information to the parents of prospective kindergartners about what we can offer as a department. He also was quite busy. He had 7 plan reviews, 3 license inspections for preschools and daycares, 6 environmental reviews, 4 consultants on future plans, and 3 final acceptance tests. You were real busy that month, weren't you?
Man, I'll say.
Tell you what, you've done a good job. We also had 2 public education tours at the stations also. Crews also went ahead and did some training on our inspection program, our commercial building inspection programs. We started that again on March 1st, and the crews will be out doing inspections throughout the year. Page 6, the top is the Lucas County Education. We're back at Lucas County now, 4-hour sessions every month. Last month was geriatric trauma, overdose, and suicides. This month is, let's see, it's pediatrics and assessing the ill patient. Next page, we had a card from Chief Santiago. We didn't print the inside of the card, sorry, but that's just the outside of the card, thanking us for our participation in the funerals and filling in at the fire stations. And then next page is a email I received from Lieutenant Kahan, Mrs., I'm going to probably mess her name up, Meister from Maplewood, came out on a Friday night, brought dinner to the crews that saved her life. And the crews that were there, Craig Kapersky, Marcus Sauter, Jim Thompson, Lieutenant Sean Whitcop, and Todd Walters were the crews that went to the school when she was in cardiac arrest and got her back. The next page is a picture of her with the guys. Nice. Smiling. Yeah, very nice. So that's the monthly report, unless anybody has anything for that.
Busy month, thanks,
Busy
Chief.
month.
Yeah.
Well, I have one other thing, Mr. Mahoney, is I have a resolution. Our part-time people don't get any benefits whatsoever, and so what we do is we sign them up for the volunteer Fire Association insurance plan. And what that does, it gives them, if they're hurt or killed on duty, it gives them a plan for their families to be taken care of. This plan, we have to appoint 2 members from the board, from the township trustees on this board. It's really, the board never meets unless we have an issue with something. So I have a resolution to appoint 2 members of the township board on.
Is this a state line thing?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, it's through the state. What happens is any member that cannot be part of the pension system can get on this. Also, this is through the Volunteer Firemen's Association. We also get a lot of training through them by going ahead and getting this policy. We run our yearly training of safe driving. It's an 8-hour course, and we do a field course also with it. It gets us some reductions on our insurance. So we get that training for all of our instructors for free with that.
I'm willing to volunteer, Chief, as long as you start calling me Neil.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Neil.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll vote.
We'll work together on it. Great.
John, thank you very much.
Do we need to offer a
Yes, sir.
resolution of it?
There's a resolution in there, I believe.
I'll move approval of Resolution 1428.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Nothing else? Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next up is Chief Bormy with the monthly police report.
Good evening.
Hi.
You have before you the monthly report for the police department in February, and I won't go through too many of these stats. Page 1, you can see it's just the different calls for service, the number of calls for service. Page 2, you will see that we had 1,055 calls for service. Year-to-date, we're down a little bit. In the accidents, in the citations, we're running about the same. We're up in both injury accidents and property damage accidents, more than likely because of the bad weather and the bad road conditions. Hopefully that'll straighten out here, or it is straightened out for now. And then I won't go through each of these offense reports. It's real early in the year, so the numbers are, you could skew them a great deal. And some were up and some were down. We don't really start looking at those until toward the end of the year. Page 4 is a new page, which may bear a little explanation. Back last October, Chief Rodas with the Sylvania City Police Department approached me about them contracting with us to start doing their prisoner transports again. Back a few years ago, under a previous chief, previous administration, they had requested that. It worked out well, but then they picked it up and started doing their own transports again for a few years in between. Again, he approached me about October and asked me. He had lost a couple officers, didn't get one replaced. He was down in his staffing, and he wanted to contract that out again with us. Through the assistance of Mr. Beck, he was able to put together a formula for trying to figure out the cost involved in that. And what you'll see here is, before we didn't do this under the previous chief, but I want to know exactly what it's going to cost us. So that's what this sheet represents. And just very, very quickly, sometimes you'll see county transports on there. We've got a real good relationship with the county that if they have a couple prisoners and we don't have any, they'll take ours and run our transports sometime. And it's a reciprocal deal. Sometimes we'll run their transports if they don't have anything. And the only cost that we're figuring in there is when we end up having to use one officer or 2 officers to do transports as a result of the city's transport. Because by policy, we can't transport more than one prisoner with just one officer. You need 2 officers to transport multiple prisoners for safety reasons. So that's what that sheet reflects. And you can see that currently, for almost a month's time, we started in February, effective February 1st. So far, it's only cost us $234. Our contract is for $8,184. So I'm not saying it's going to stay at this rate, but if it does, we'll make out on the deal. But, quite frankly, I see it as a service. Anytime we can assist another department, I think it's a good thing for us to be able to help departments that may not be as fortunate as us, with their staffing and such. And again, we're not going to lose money either, and that's why we're tracking this. So that's an explanation on that sheet. Do you have any questions about that? Because it's kind of a new deal.
I'd just like to compliment you. I think I agree with you. If we could assist other departments.
Being a good neighbor, that's
Good.
great,
Yep.
Chief.
Yep.
And if we make money, it's even better.
Oh, it is. I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you. Next page, page 5. Again, I won't go over all these numbers. You can see the cases assigned, the total cases assigned. Everything to the right are the totals. The cases cleared for the month, the number of active cases left, cases cleared from the previous months for the total cases cleared all the way down at the bottom of 60 cases. Page 6, again, I won't go over this whole thing. It just shows the current activity of our detective, our investigator in the DEA task force. As you can well imagine, even from watching TV and such, a lot of those investigations are very, very long-term investigations that eventually will result in probably some pretty good forfeitures and such. Well, that's a good point. We're more thorough. We're more thorough than they are. Good point, Jim. Next page, page 7. Just a couple of things to note. Actually, I'm sure you're all aware of the Savannah Area Business Expo this weekend at Tanner, and we're preparing for that. Community Affairs is preparing for that. We also will have a Citizens Police Academy starting April 8th. They're putting together the curriculum for that. Under schools, I think I've talked about this before, so I won't dwell on it. But you can see first sentence there. We continue to have a large presence in the schools. One particular officer at Central Trail in Timberstone. We're talking about Safety Township, planning for that already. Second to the last paragraph there, you can kind of read it for yourselves, but it's just the kind of things that we encounter in the schools and such. Even in the elementary schools. This was 5th grade, and a girl came in and talked about committing suicide with a knife, and a very serious thing. And so obviously the school officials called us. We did confiscate a knife out of her book bag, and obviously the school is going to deal with it. We actually transported her on an emergency commitment on that particular day, and hopefully by now she's getting the proper treatment and everything will be okay. But for those who think that things don't happen in Savannah schools, couldn't be further from the truth. There are very serious incidents that happen on a regular basis. Next page, page 8. Again, it's just talking about, again, our presence in the schools. I know, especially at the middle schools, and I've talked to Superintendent Rieger and especially Mike Bader, principal out of Timberstone, and they really appreciate our efforts. We're in the middle schools a lot. Middle schools, there's as much going on in middle schools as there is in high schools. Smaller population, but per capita, there's things that go on in the middle schools on a pretty regular basis. And they all feel that our regular daily presence there, morning and afternoon, when the kids are getting out, is making a big impact on what goes on in the school, which is what our intention was when we started it. We basically started this whole thing after the tragedy in Connecticut. So hopefully it's having a positive effect. Page 9, just some of the activities for the K-9 officer in the month of February. In fact, I met with the sergeant that's the supervisor of the K-9 unit and Officer Charest, the K-9 officer, yesterday, and what we're going to put together for you in June will be a year in that he hit the street with Speedy, our dog, and we'll have some total stats for you. But that's just some of the activity that took place in the month. Last sentence of the second paragraph, I know I was real excited for a while because Officer Shrestha, you can read the paragraph there, but he made an arrest, and it was a trafficking narcotics deal where we could possibly get a forfeiture on the vehicle. And I got real excited because it was a brand-new Tahoe, and I thought that might make a good Chiefs car. But then and then I was kind of bummed to find out it was an Enterprise rental car, so game off. But maybe next time. Maybe next time. And then page 10, again, you've got just some figures for seizures and court monies and such. Couple other little things of note that you won't have in front of you there. I got a nice letter from Sheriff Tharp, a letter of appreciation back on March 3rd, something that obviously is very important. It's the county sheriff's responsibility to make sure that the sex offenders in the county are registering and complying with the law. And that's it's a pretty big effort. There's more of them than what you would think. And so we had one of our officers on March 3rd assist them in that effort. There's some of them out here too. So it allowed the county to be able to get all the to check on the registrations and make sure that those people are complying with what they need to. Got another nice letter here actually from Superintendent Patrick Hickey with Washington Local Schools. About the ALICE training that we conducted for them. We conducted training for over 800 people within their school system. That's a pretty big school district, and between staff and administration and everything else, it was a very big group. And actually an officer or two from Sylvania City PD, and we were very instrumental in making sure they got all their people trained in ALICE, and I think you know what that is. Another letter here just from a private citizen complimenting one of our officers. He was homeward bound to Cincinnati after a brief visit up here with relatives. He was traveling on US 20. He was struck in the rear by another car. There weren't severe injuries, but he compliments Officer Matt Miller on, number one, response time, arriving on the scene so quickly it surprised him. And he just goes on to say it was easy to notice that he was competent, asking all the necessary questions, all the while very polite with a calming attitude. A good job by all concerned. So, there's somebody from out of town that appreciates the job that our officers do out there. And then, kind of in line with what Chief Kowalski was talking about, I've got a nice letter here from Chief Motown, the new chief with TPD. You may be aware that the one firefighter had his funeral service at Walker and at the corner of Sylvania and Whiteford Quarry there, which is in our jurisdiction. And we assisted them with the parking of the fire rigs and then the traffic getting through the intersection and showing the proper respect as the procession went through the intersection and such. And he was very complimentary of that. That's all I have. Do you have any questions for me?
Chief, I was on grand jury duty for a couple of weeks. You had some officers there, detectives. They really conducted themselves well.
Oh, thank you.
What really surprised me is there were several other cases during the 2-week period where other departments talked about cooperation with Sylvania Township and coming together and figuring some things out. So
really appreciate that. Thank you.
I think your department was the most mentioned department of any that I heard during that 2 weeks. So
wow. Well, thank you very much.
Pass on my compliments.
I appreciate that. I'm real proud of our people. Our Detective Bureau is doing a really good job right now. They've come up with some really good arrests. And I will add, not only with the cooperation of other departments, but some really good, I won't say what equipment because I don't want to let out our secrets in a public meeting, but with some really, really good equipment that allows us to track people and some things like that.
I'm just glad to hear about the cooperation with Sylvania Township and putting some of these things together.
Well, thank you very much. I'll pass that along.
I appreciate Nancy getting the emails out with, you could talk all night, and I appreciate you being as brief as you are with these. So it was on the internet, so thanks.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Next up, under the Administrator, I have a Resolution 14032, which is an appointment of a board member to the SCAT, and I'll let you two handle that.
No, I got it better. We volunteered on that town, the volunteers.
Uh-huh.
We'll let John do this one.
I think it's a...
You're not here.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. If John has a problem, I'd be more than happy to do it, but let's make a motion for,
Boy, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
That was John Gentleman.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, John Zeitler.
Or John.
Calling the roll, trustee Crandall,
Yes.
trustee Mahoney.
Yes.
Next item I have is a review of a request for a liquor permit transfer. This is a change in owners of the, let's see, here just a second. The TJ Market, it's at the corner of Bancroft on McCord. It's on the northeast corner of it. It's a change of ownership, and the police and fire department, I have letters from both of them saying they have no problem with the switch in ownership and the liquor license. And this is one of those kinds of resolutions, well, it's not a resol, where if you don't do anything, it's okay. You would only have to do a resolution if you did not want to do it. So if you have no problem, we'll just move on. The next one is a resolution 14029 to adopt amendments to the healthcare committee guidelines, and I'll let our sit-in fiscal officer, Susan, talk about it.
A couple of months ago, when the Health Insurance Committee met, we had, I don't recall what the situation was, but we had a vote to take, and it ended up to be a tie vote. And as we looked through our guidelines, we realized that there was nothing in those that provided for what to do when we have a tie vote. So we met this last month, and the committee recommended that we do what we did the last time, and that is rely on our broker to cast the deciding vote. So we are asking for a resolution to adopt an amended healthcare committee guidelines to include, in the event of a tie vote, the deciding vote shall be cast by the township's insurance broker representative.
I'll offer Resolution 14-029 to adopt the amendment to Healthcare Committee guidelines.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Crandall,
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
As earlier stated in the meeting, I have an add-on resolution, and Susan will give it a number, but it's a resolution authorizing the township administrator to send a letter of support to the county engineer for the 10 Mile Creek improvement. Last meeting, he came in and gave a presentation of what they want to do, and you're going to authorize me to send a letter saying we support the project.
That will be resolution 14034.
I'll make a motion for this resolution authorizing John to send a letter to the county engineer in regard to the 10 Mile Creek study.
Second?
In a way of discussion, I followed up with, I looked over the report, and followed up with taking a copy over to the city.
Oh, good idea.
He met with the mayor, and Kevin Eller called me today and said, looks fine to them.
Fantastic.
But in the meantime, they've talked to the county, because it's really the county's project. So,
Sure.
John and I spoke. I remember Keith said he might do it in 3 phases. I think 1 phase, because you're cutting, you're filling, and, if you have a phase, you could be cutting in one area and hauling into another phase. We think do it all at once. That'll be in the letter, and also, we talked about financing. We'll put something in the letter that when the county completes the plan, they'll come back with a cost estimate to us in between township and county will figure out how to do the funding. So
All right.
let it-
Appreciate your effort.
Did I forget anything?
Nope, you did a good job.
But you'll get a copy.
Okay, well, A for
Yeah.
effort, thank you.
Yeah, we'll come up with a letter, have, I assume you'll have a draft.
Yeah, I'm working on it now.
All the trustees.
Okay, good, wonderful. I'll second that motion.
Calling the roll, Mr. Crandall?
Yes?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And I'll turn it over to Jim Beck to give the fiscal officer's report.
You want it short or longer?
Short.
Behind you there is the month-end analysis for February. Revenues are about where we expect them to be at this particular time. February showed a big chunk of money coming in for property taxes. We did get the settlement. We settled in March. General fund doesn't jump up as quick because we have a lot more different items, and a lot more revenue items, so it doesn't go up as quickly. Expenditures, we should be at about 16.67. The general and road and bridge are below that. Police fund is just a touch above it, and the fire fund is a little higher, but we have good reason for that. In January, we had 3 payrolls, and you know, the police and fire, the biggest chunk of their budget is payroll related. So with 3 payrolls in January, it jumped their percentage up real quick. The other thing with the fire department is we settled their contract, wage-wise, and paid them in January. So we haven't done the associated increase in budget with that settlement yet. So that'll be coming here this next month. We'll put that request in. So that's why their number are a little high. Other than that, everything, I think you're going to see the numbers stretch out. As farther we get into the year, the numbers are getting better.
You're feeling good?
Yeah. I
Okay,
feel
good,
about it.
good. All right, nice work on it, Jim.
I don't have nothing else. No motion, no resolution.
Thanks, Jim. We now have open discussion.
I got a couple of things, Neil. When we were down to the winter conference for the Township Association, I attended a session on the local government innovation plan. And if you recall, we just used this with CIC to combine development efforts with the CIC, city and township. And we're using some of John Zeitler's time and some of Bill Sanders' time to do that. Well, when I was at the conference there, boy, there's a lot of grant money for studies. There's a lot of loan money to implement some of these projects. And they're projects similar to what the chief was just talking about, where you cooperate with another department like he's doing on the transport. And that's probably a small scale of this. But I think as a board, I would like to instruct John Zeitler and the other department heads to be looking for places where we can share equipment, share services with adjoining departments or whatever. It's pretty broad in my mind. But I'd like to see our board say to John, be looking for those opportunities. And then I would hope if a department head comes up with something, they would talk to John and kind of see if it's a go or no go. But they were pushing hard in that meeting that they're looking for projects to fund. And I would think there's some opportunities there if we would do that. And I don't know if you need a resolution.
No, I'll be talking to the department heads and see if they got any ideas on,
Maybe that
I know,
we requested that from all.
in the road department, we've got a couple ideas in that. We were working
Well, I don't know.
on maintenance
You guys
last year
got
with
more.
other departments.
I think there's some opportunities there to work, and hopefully save costs.
Yeah, and get money from the
Sounds great.
state.
So I just like with the minutes, we
Absolutely.
kind of authorized John and the staff to look into that. Also at the winter conference, I attended the Coalition of Large Counties, urban counties. And so I guess I was one of 3 people that showed up, and there were 4 positions. So I guess I'll be the Northwest rep. So anyway, I just wanted you guys.
Okay, good to know. I appreciate it.
I'll be doing that.
Not I, but we appreciate it, yes.
Yep. Okay, that's all I had.
Nobody signed up for public comments.
Okay. Well, I guess that we're going to motion to adjourn at 6:52.
Second.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.